What's up, everybody? How are you? Good evening. Good evening. Happy Wednesday. Uh, I hope everybody's having a beautiful and blessed day. I know my day is good. I hope yours is too. This is the segment of Real Talk Chronicles, and tonight we have a special guest with us, which is great. We've always extended the offer to anybody to come along, and this gentleman will give his perspective on things that affect him and what we converse about. Of course, like we always do, we ask you to share it. If you're watching it on YouTube, subscribe to it. If you're watching it on Facebook, please uh, share it. Go under mine or whomever invited you. If it was Chuck, if it was Kevin, if it was Maurice, whoever invited you, just go under there and just push the share button or have a watch party with it. We appreciate all the support. That's a beautiful thing. And tonight we're going to talk about a lot of things that's happening in our community. Crime is just rampant. People are getting shot. Kids, an elderly man, 61 years old. That's not really elderly. That's not too far off from my age. He got slashed in the Bronx. The gang wars, carjacking. So just so many different things are happening in this community across the world. The three of us, Chuck and Kevin and I, were talking about Chicago. We'll let Kevin talk about that earlier. We'll definitely discuss that elephant in the room about I think how many people, kids, 175 kids, and when we say kids, between young and teenagers have gotten shot. I think we have maybe 9 fatalities or even more in Chicago, and we're going to discuss that. And with that being said, and all that saying, let me just ask my co-hosts how they're doing. How you doing tonight, Kev?
I'm doing well, thank you. Welcome to our new guest, and Chuck. How you been?
What's going on, brothers? How's everybody? Good?
Very good.
Chuck, what's going on? How you feeling today, man?
Good, man. A little sluggish. I was running with Mo last night, so I'm feeling the residual effects of running with Mo. But other than that, man, I'm good.
Okay, all right. So without further ado, we have a special guest, and we love the fact that we've always extended the olive branch to anybody and everybody. You're always welcome to come in and sit in on any of our conversations. It's real talk. It's opinionated with facts. And if you don't have your facts right, definitely Kevin Branzetti will get on you. And then follow it up with Chuck and myself. So you better come right when you're gonna come with us. I have a special announcement. I'm going to wait for more people to get into the room to announce it. But please, before maybe on the half or with a good time in the show, I want to announce this. I think my two co-hosts will be happy with this announcement too. Hey, Stefana, how are you? What's up, Marlene? Everybody is chiming in. So without further ado, Chuck, I'll let you introduce this young man. And then Maurice, you tell us about yourself, please, and give us your background. Go ahead.
This young man right here, I met him sitting around watching basketball, and I was sitting there talking like I knew everything about basketball. Realized I didn't know a damn thing about basketball until I was sitting next to this cat, man. So like I said, he'll be able to introduce himself, but I respect him a great deal, man. He's accomplished so much in such a short period of time, and I can only see him doing bigger and better things, man. So Maurice, I'm going to let you take the floor, brother. Do your thing.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me, everybody. I really appreciate you guys having me on the platform. So yeah, like Chuck said, I'm basically full-time. I'm an NBA agent. I work for 1010 Sports and Entertainment. I'm the lead agent there. I do a lot of overseas work with basketball players in different countries, playing in different leagues, as well as the NBA itself. Also the G League, do a lot of things like that. My background is a little bit scattered. I went to Oklahoma State University. While I was there for undergrad, I ended up working for the Oklahoma City Thunder for about 5 years, which led into law school. Became really close with their front office, did a multitude of things. Basically became a utility player, ranging from scouting, analytics, all the way to contracts and qualifying offers. From there, I ended up graduating law school. Ended up doing some work with the LA Clippers for a little bit of time. And then from there, I transitioned to becoming an NBA agent. And I've been an agent about 2 years now.
Thank you. I appreciate that. What the one thing I will say, once you come to Real Talk, you're always welcome to come back.
Okay.
So,
Good.
and then when the Knicks play next year, I'll be looking for some tickets. Now let me stop. I'm just playing.
He's not playing.
No, I'm not.
He's gonna say it that way.
No, but Real Talk, I'm not playing. So, but so with that being said, and Maurice, I'm glad that you covered two different avenues that we want to talk about tonight too. We want to talk about youth, and we want to talk about some legalities. The one thing I want to ask you is, as an agent for these young men that are coming into the NBA, right? And now in a few years they'll be coming out of high school. Yeah. So, does the NBA teach them anything on protocol, how to carry themselves? Because we know years ago there were things like that. Even with Motown used to send them to etiquette school. Mm-hmm. Certain things, football and baseball, sometimes they try to give them like some kind of like big brother, some kind of mentor or guidance. The reason why I'm asking that is because right now youth are kind of just doing their own thing. And I don't want to disrespect any youth that might be listening or somebody that has a youth and it's not my son. It might be your son too. You know what I'm saying? So, like if your son is bad or your daughter's bad, then just say they bad. Right now, just deal with they bad ass. You know what I'm saying? Because it's better to deal with them now than, God forbid, they're dealing when they get incarcerated or they get involved with gangs. And this is what we're trying to stop. And even something that Kevin does a lot that, Chuck and I will probably help him out with, abduction. Young ladies can get abducted too. So I know as a sports agent, do you deal with the WNBA too as well?
I do a little work on the WNBA side, yes.
Okay. So can you give the audience what things that an agent or the NBA does that helps groom these young men and women, please?
So basically over the past decade, it's actually really picked up, especially on the NBA side. So they basically implemented programs for rookies, so players that just become drafted and sign their first contract, so their first millions of dollars, basically. They do basically a week, or I think it might be actually 2 weeks now, long seminar where they gather all their rookies. They have mentors come in, whether it's from the business side, the front office, and or retired players themselves. They all come in and they hit a variety of topics throughout the 2 weeks, basically. Everywhere from financial advising, how to go about it, how to invest, how to make money off your money, how to protect your wealth, obviously. They talk about off the court things such as what it's going to be like when it comes to girls coming up to you, that type of etiquette, what's going to be like with family members coming to asking you for money, how to go about having a posse if you have one, who to keep in your circle, who not to keep in your circle, which places to go, which places not to go, where to be seen, where not to be seen. So basically throughout 2 weeks, they basically kind of cover all those topics for rookies. So it's pretty helpful. Throughout the year, though, I really believe that it's also our responsibility as an agent ourselves to have a big say in that, how to carry themselves and how to develop their career on and off the court. Even though the NBA does implement those programs, it does kind of go out of their way to really kind of take care of those guys and teach them, so to speak. I think we have a big responsibility ourselves to continue that education. Like I said, when it comes to basketball, when it comes to all sports, basically, there are a lot of things that players go through that the regular, ordinary person does not. And with that comes ups and downs. So I think especially for young African Americans, it's important to kind of guide them and kind of be them to really listen and talk to, because it can come with a variety of problems. As Chuck has heard me, just as we've spent time together, he has heard me complain and moan more times than once about different problems that arise at the drop of a hat. So you kind of have to be there.
And you know what's so funny? First and foremost, Stefania, Uncle Willie is in the room. We got to shout out my uncle, and he has it. I told him that he has his Moscow Mule So here's to y'all. That's the drink of choice tonight for those two Moscow Mules. So that's a private joke from the side. With that being said, I'm assuming, that you're dealing with a lot of divas and dons. I'm not be disrespecting the gentleman, dons. But is there any conversation that you may have with these gentlemen? And this is going to segue into what Kevin and I and yourself will talk about in regards to do they have any kind of conversations in reaction to law enforcement or dealing with law enforcement? Because some of them can feel like they have elitist status and they're above approach and dealing in interactions. We just realized Richard Sherman got arrested for some domestic violence today. It's all the information is not in. He's a scholar, very articulate individual who speaks out a lot on a lot of issues. I don't know what the situation is. So, of course, no one here condones domestic violence. So we'll wait and see with that and things of that magnitude. But can you elaborate on anything like that?
I honestly think when it comes to the NBA, which I only really can speak on just from experience itself, I would actually say the guys are pretty aware of what it comes for, what their status means and what that means correlated to law enforcement and or a police officer interaction. I think a lot of them are pretty aware that even though they can be making millions and millions of dollars, most of the time, if a police officer comes up to them, they may not know who they are, or they may only see a young African-American male or female driving a nice car, and they're going to go to such conclusions automatically. Most of them are pretty aware of that. They all, when it comes to basketball players, most of them have grown up in an environment where they've had to deal with police in the past. So they have that experience and they're aware what it means to have those interactions and how to deal with it. So overall, I think when it comes to that certain topic, they're actually pretty good. They're pretty on top of it.
Got you. Before we go into anything else, Chuck or Kev, do you have any questions for Maurice in regards to how pro athletes are dealt with or becoming pro athletes are dealt with?
No, I mean, like I said, I've spent so much time with this brother, man. It's probably, I probably know so much more about the intricacies, which I have to say, the elaborate system that they have within the NBA, which is really important. But more importantly, in terms of the law enforcement aspect, I've always asked them whether or not is there a phobia or an issue directly related to, let's say, NBA players and their interactions with law enforcement. He's given me various accounts, but for the most part, just like he educated me on, it's also a case-by-case basis, because there are some of them that actually have no issues or understand the dynamics of maybe getting pulled over, and there's others that are just based on historically what's been happening with the police in the community. It's created a problem. But 9 times out of 10, they're generally pretty much told just to comply or try not to make any waves, which is the most simplistic thing for them to do.
That's awesome. Maurice, you wear a double, like you wear two hats in this a lot of times because you are a lawyer. So you do know the law in regards to if, God forbid, they do get in certain situations, and you're working as an agent too, their agent. So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, as an agent, you might be that one of the first ones called if, God forbid, they get into any situations, whatever the situations may be. We're not just talking about law enforcement aspect, but just basically any situation that they get in. But if it is law enforcement, you could come in and you can still wear two hats, correct?
Yes, for sure. If any of my players get in any type of trouble, I usually would like to be the first call. That's what they're supposed to do, is call me first. Sometimes that doesn't always happen, but usually they're supposed to call me first. Secondly, if it's anything serious or does deal with law enforcement, we go to the NBA Players Association automatically. So that's then my first call. Everything, we try to keep everything kind of under wraps, so to speak. And if it is an issue, we try to privately arbitrate it. So basically we call the NBA PA and kind of let them guide us through the process if it comes down to any legal interactions or any, bad things or bad situations that kind of come about.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Kevin is a big hockey fan. Do you guys work with hockey hockey players, or is just you just dealing strictly with? I mean, because a sports agent is a sports agent, correct? Or is it just?
Yes, I do not deal with hockey. I deal directly with basketball only, just NBA basically.
All right. So, and let me just ask you this question too before we move on. From I guess the coffee standing at the water fountain at the office, are all athletes from all sports kind of similar in their elitist mentality, or is it just?
Yes, I would say all. I'll say all athletes definitely have a thing in common about them. I'll say. I really don't like to describe it as elitist because most of the time they're really not. It's just a lot of times people don't understand that their background and how they've come to be so and so or become a pro athlete. Their childhood or their background is so different than even mine is or any of ours could possibly be. I mean, a lot of these kids have been superstars since they were like 10. So like playing AAU basketball, getting money, getting sponsorship, girls getting public attention, especially now with social media, Instagram and Twitter. I mean, these kids are legitimately famous before they're 15.
Yeah.
So
and, for transparency, like my godson, I don't know if you know him, Jalen LeCue is yeah, that's my godson. So a lot of these athletes, some may have a little turbulent backgrounds, and not all. I mean, can you elaborate on that? Not everybody has to come with the,
it's not everybody, but the majority. I mean, I guess it's vastly changing now. I mean, the demographics changing a little bit now. It's a little bit more spread out. But a lot of the times, a lot of these kids are kind of coming from an inner city urban environment. Then they're getting basically plucked out of there. From there, they're going to AAU basketball to private to prep school, and then to college to pro. That's where the real jump is. They're in that environment, but these days they're usually, if they're good enough, and usually they can spot it by, like I said, 14. They'll start going to prep school at that point, and then that's when the real attention starts coming. All of those schools, so like schools like Prolific Prep, all of that kind of comes into play, and that's really like where the stardom grows. So from there, I mean, I guess you can say a kind of elitist mentality can kind of stem from that or develop because you're put in that environment. But overall, it's just like you just have such a different perspective on life. Like they really do. Sometimes they really do. All they know is basketball. I mean, that's what they're breathing. That's what they're sleeping about, like literally everything, because it takes that much to become a pro athlete. So it's a different perspective in my mind.
And, I mean, I'm sure Chuck and I think Kevin has definitely seen this too, that when we were all law enforcement officers back then, and I am a product of the PALs and things of that magnitude, that's gone now. Segueing into like keeping these athletes out of trouble. Like I said, the three of us were talking offline about the violence with the youth today. Right now, like there's a big gang problem going on in the Bronx. Individuals have just gotten shot in store. Like they chased a guy in a store. Chicago, Kevin, I don't know if you remember the stats on that. If you could elaborate on it. I think it was like 175 kids this year, like crazy. When Kevin gets the stats, but how hard is it for you when you start getting into speaking to these kids or watching these kids or following these kids, is to keeping them away from that negative element out there in that street?
I mean, most of the time, if I'm really working, and most of the time my clients and I have a really good relationship because of my age, and we're able to kind of talk on that level and really relate. So if something's going down, or if I see something going wrong, they're steering in the wrong direction, or they're going in the wrong path, I'll usually step in and say something and kind of curb it. And most of the time, more times than not, they're usually going to listen and really hear what I have to say. I think it also has a lot to do with who they have around them. I think posses can be bad. They can sometimes get bad people around them, bad friends, bad neighborhood, people hanging around. That could end up leading to some pretty bad situations I've seen in the past. But that's when it comes into family and, like I said, kind of myself of who they're going to listen to. But the problem is you can say as much as you want to sometimes, but if they don't hear you or don't want to listen, then the result's going to be the same anyways, So,
and before we move on, I just have this one more question to you. How connected are you to these athletes after they have already established themselves in their NBA careers? Are you still connected to them, all the time, or is it like, Maurice, I don't need you now. I'm getting. Oh, they only calling you when it's time to negotiate those contracts?
Nah, I'm talking to my players constantly. I'm at least talking to my clients at least 2 to 3 times a week, if not more.
Good.
I like to think I have 17 girlfriends basically, so it's just so it's literally just keeping it's constant communication, constant talking. But it's a good thing because you need trust on both ways. So the more communication you have, the better it usually goes.
Okay, good. Kev, that first video. Okay, and Maurice, I want to go to this first video that Kevin and I talked about that I sent him. It's about a Karen, as they dub them, Karens.
It's the worst name to have now as a woman.
Really,
Can you imagine? I'm like, oh.
Absolutely, right?
That's like an immediate swipe left for me.
The
name.
It is exactly. She basically accuses this man of stealing her son's cell phone. Now, I had posted this earlier, and the question was from a legal standpoint. So the fact that you're a lawyer, they were asking, could there be any repercussions on the woman for her accusations? I want you to see the video first,
Okay.
and then we can all we do what we do. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Force, with my co-host.
Hey, Bill, just for a quick thing, we got a question on what is PAL. So PAL is the Police Athletic League.
All right, thank you.
Police department in New York City sponsored youth leagues. I played PAL hockey as a kid.
Right.
Bill played ball as a kid.
Yes.
It was something very, very big, and really, I think almost every neighborhood in the city.
And what's so funny? A lot of times when people start talking about defunding and they want that money to go back to the things, I still want to know where was that money before. And it can come back. It can come from another place. It doesn't have to just always be about defunding and things of that magnitude. But we're going to play this video, and then I want your expertise. And I'm only playing this because it was asked of me to ask you. So I'll play it this way. Let's see.
All right, let's give it a shot.
Karen racially profiled a Walmart customer and accused him of stealing her son's phone.
Follow me outside the store. First, she's eyeing me in the store.
She began following him throughout the property.
I'm a married man sitting here dealing with this woman's irate because
She even took it as far as complaining to a store manager.
That's not my fault. But being racially profiled, that's going to be.
When we were in the parking lot, it was marking him right there, but I can't.
What's that?
And this is the moment she realized she effed up.
She accused me, and it's okay because I have everybody.
She sees her kid walking back with his phone.
No, I can't for my safety. Everybody I'm involved in, I understand. When she racially profiled me, her son found the phone.
Her kid left the phone in the car all along.
Her son found it in the car. So now I'm going to press charges. Ma'am, may I have your name, please? May I have your name, please, ma'am? No? Okay, that's okay.
And instead of apologizing, she tells him to go F himself.
I seen where your son went to the car. I have your license plate. Thank
you. All right. Thanks, Kev. All right. So, Maurice, and he kind of almost fits the bill on this aspect. Imagine if that was one of your athletes. He calls you. No, down. Cameron, right here. She insulted me. Can I sue this bum? You know what I'm saying?
Nah, you can't sue her. You can't really bring any action to her because it looks like she genuinely believed he took the phone, even though he obviously didn't, and she was tripping. But in reality, she genuinely believed he felt that she took it or that he stole it. So you can't really do anything about it.
Is that because there wasn't any police interaction in the store
No, it's not the. It's not even the police aspect of it. Like I said, it's the genuine belief that he had the phone. If it was like, if it was manifested in a different way, if she was somehow, if it felt fake, like she was accusing him or trying to lie, but she knew for some reason that he didn't have the phone. If she already knew in her mind that he didn't have the phone and still brought it like this, then you could bring some action to her. But because she genuinely believed he had the phone, you can't really do anything about it.
So that's the key word then, generally believing. So
basically, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, for the people that asked that question, I hope you're listening. That's your answer, and we can go on to something else. Kev, talk about what's happening in Chicago.
Chicago is a crazy place right now. And one of the things that disturbs me, and I texted to you two guys yesterday, was this 1-year-old being shot in a car seat. Mm-hmm. And it's got almost no media attention. I mean, I'm Googling it now, and I could barely find an article or two on this kid. I mean, she was sitting in a car seat while bullets are being sprayed and took a bullet to the head. Thankfully, it didn't penetrate the skull. But there's only a handful of articles, which tells me, two things, right, in life. One, there's too many. So it's just another number, another kid shot. And two, I've said this for a long time, Bill. She's a brown girl. It doesn't sell in the media. If she was a cute blonde-haired kid, right, all of us out here would know about it. Would be on the front page of every newspaper in the country.
Right.
But Google it right now.
Yeah.
Toddler shot Chicago car seat. It is incredibly hard to find the article.
Yeah, I just it's so funny. I had a friend of mine, a real close friend of mine. His grandson got shot. They tried to rob his grandson, and he got shot in the head. And now thank God he survived. But he got shot with a .45, and he's going to lose his eyesight in one of his eyes. And it's just crime. Like I said, I think we have some footage of some crime in New York City. My question to the panel: how do we save these kids? I've done mentoring. I still do it. Chuck has done it with me. Chuck has he's done his thing. Kevin, you do it. Maurice, you were involved. But we're at an age now where kids are going to start. I'm OG and I'm Unc. I'm reaching the status, so there's a separation. I'm not wearing my pants off my ass so a kid can feel connected to me. You know what I mean? I don't feel I have to wear my hat to the back, and I'm not going to wear 10 chains so he can feel like I got a pocket full of money. I'm not trying to portray that. Also, too, I want the child the kids today, men and female, to see something that they can relate to. Now, is this that children are not having parents in the home? So I don't know. I'll start with you, Chuck. I'll go to you, Kevin, and I'll finish it with you, Maurice. What's your take on these? What can we do?
Well, like I said before, a lot of what happens with these kids, 9 times out of 10, I mean, it starts in the home first, right? It always, like I said, it takes the parents to be more proactive in what their kids are doing. I mean, Johnny comes home in the middle of the day from school when he's supposed to be at school, or he comes in the middle of the night and he's carrying some backpack, looks a little heavier than usual. I'm sorry, you gotta be the police. You gotta be in your kid's ass. Like, where you coming from? Like, why are you coming home late? How was school? You have to communicate, and if it means sometimes every now and then you have to do some correctional move and toss their freaking room and turn over their mattress to make it very clear that, hey, you know what? I'm not going to put you or myself or anyone in jeopardy in regards to your well-being. And it's for their well-being. I mean, and then we also have to get back to also being more of a village, because sometimes, you get that mother across the street that sees their son, doing something else, or let's say some neighbor, right? Back in the day when I was growing up, I couldn't get away with a damn thing in my neighborhood because I had 6 mothers in my neighborhood. It wasn't just my mom. I had 6 of them. So if I did something crazy, don't think for a minute that they wouldn't tell my mom, you know what your son did? You know what? I saw him. I caught him doing this. I caught him doing that. So then 9 times out of 10, it was the fear of being dined on, because it was a community effort in terms of raising kids. And that's how we all became such close friends, because we all had more than one mother. We all have more than one aunt in the neighborhood. So I think it has to start first and foremost in the home. Parents have to be a little more proactive in terms of asking those questions, having a dialogue with their kid, being up their ass. You know, sometimes they may feel like they're being smothered, but it's for their own well-being. And then we have to get back to a communal type kind of interaction where we can respect our neighbors, and we all look out for one another. And we've gotten so far away from that's why a lot of these kids now are just off the Richter scale. And then, of course, as you can also see legislatively, I mean, you can't even really discipline your kid, right? Because before you know it, you get a phone call, you got a case with ACS, now you got people coming and asking all these questions, because you're trying to ensure the well-being of and the safety of your child, and even discipline them. It seems like, as if society, or the way the system is set up, you have a hard time even doing that without having some type of involvement, whether it be with law enforcement. So, like I said, we have to get back to being parents. Stop being your freaking child's friend. You're his parent, right? We can have a dialogue. You can give them their right to speak and have their opinion, but there's a point where you have to be a parent. And then we have to get back as a community, raising one another's children, taking advice from other people, you know, sometimes diming on your kid. You know what I mean? It is what it is, you know. So that's my take, you know.
Hold on for a second. Before we go on, I want to say my man Mike Jones is in the building, former NYPD, and Robert. I got NYPD ain't strong. I see everybody in here chiming in. Thank you all, June, Mark, Cabrera, Maurice. The question in regards to that video we just saw, Mike wants to know, what about if she touched him? Would there have been some kind of repercussions? Could he have followed up with something?
Depending on the force of the touch or how she touched him, you could do assault. But she'd have but there would have to be also a fear aspect from him on that, though, because you might be able to do assault, but I think it would be hard because there's a fear component when it comes to assault. So, like, there has to be, like, you're fearful of the person attacking you. So,
and it's so funny. They're
gonna be fearful of a 5 foot something white woman. So it's gonna be tough, but you might, depending on how on the force is. So yeah.
And it's so funny. I don't even know if I sent this to Kevin or Chuck. Maybe not for show, but I might have did it in our private conversation. That there's another one named Karen. She's screaming profusely and starts crying, and she gets caught in Victoria's Secret. I don't know if anybody in the audience saw this video. She's screaming profusely and then she tries to hit the lady, and you know, it's obvious it's a black lady filming it, and she's running around. The black lady's laughing because she thinks it's hilarious because the white lady's screaming and crying and laying on the floor, but then she starts chasing her around the store, trying to knock her phone out of her hand and hit her. So then she gets behind security or the store, people in the store. Then the police come. So when the police come, she's like, yo, listen, I want her escorted out the store. So the police was like, well, won't you leave? She was like, won't I leave? She was like, well, wait a minute. Like, I'm the victim here, and you're telling me to leave the store. Why can't you escort her out the store? So then the officer is kind of like pacifying, and then she starts crying. So she's still taping her. And then his partner is telling her, yo, stop taping her. Like, go away. And she was like, yo, why are you trying to disrespect me? And she's the one that's crying, and I'm the complainant. So it's and I just thought about that when you start saying 5 foot, 5 woman, who's going to be scared of. But the bottom line is, harassment and assault. We all know like harassment is not really going anywhere from a legalist standpoint, unless it's really deeper than.
It has to be super continued over a long period of time.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I just want to, before I go to you, Kev, Stefania said, my bad. I initially thought we were talking about Soho Karen, the one that tackled the 14-year-old boy. Oh, yeah, that was a whole other story, right? Remember that? We're going into. She says, I also saw a clip of Chicago police officers saying that the police department is overwhelmed and they need federal help. Wow. So yeah, she said supposedly Biden is sending help. Cabrera said yesterday a man in Washington Heights was shot over a car. A gang with dirt bikes. Victim was shot in the head and stable condition. Yeah. She said, well, the parents are also gang banging. You're right. You know, you got you the OG whatever, and your son is the young G. You know what I'm saying? Robin said the 13-year-old gangbanger shot by a cop in Chicago was out 2 a.m. on a school night. Ridiculous. Also, too, I think I want to give a speedy recovery to, I think 2 officers were shot. I don't know if that was in PA, Philadelphia, or something like that. So speedy recovery. Thank God they survived that situation. So, you know, I mean, for all those, no matter, sometimes we can talk about officers doing certain things, but we all, the 3 of us definitely here know that it is definitely a dangerous job at any given moment. Stefani said, unfortunately, Chuck, we no longer have the community mindset. People will curse you out or want to fight you when you tell them about their child. Absolutely. Robert said, social control grew up the same way. So yeah, Kev, what's your take? What do we do?
I mean, there's a whole lot of things in this conversation at the moment, right? You know, Bill, I think Bill and you and Chuck, or one of you mentioned it a couple weeks ago. Those guns go somewhere every night. They're under some kid's pillow, some kid's mattress, their backpack, their closet. And you know, the truth of it is, mom and dad, you better toss it, or we're going to go back to the cops starting tossing people again and searching them, right? Like we wanted the cops to stop grabbing and searching kids on the street. Now it's your job. Like somebody has to do it. We've watched these kids every single night. That gun goes home and lays down in somebody's room, and it, you know, your kid might just be the sucker from the group, or might be the head leader. Right? We don't know. But it's mom's job, dad's job, grandma's job, grandpa's job, aunt, uncle, whoever it is. Start to, you know, check your kids. They're there.
You know, you're so right. I mean, I think, you know, I don't know how old are you, Maurice, if you don't mind me asking to divulge that.
I just turned 28.
Oh man, yeah. Well, good. The beautiful thing about it is we're getting a young gentleman's perspective on this, right. And this is good. And maybe you can give us some insight into how you stayed on the course of your path. But Kevin is right. Like, you know, parents, like I ate dinner with my parents. You know what I'm saying? Like every night I ate dinner. The only night that I may have been able to not have to sit at the dinner table with them was maybe on a Saturday. Sunday, everybody was at the table. You know what I'm saying? Cats, dogs, everybody was at the table. You know what I'm saying? But you know, Friday might have been a past night where you could go get you some McDonald's or something, and Saturday they get you a hot dog and go somewhere. But you know, if I came in when I got older and started drinking, my parents would look at me because I would have to walk past them, and you know, in the living room or something like that magnitude. You know, they're like, "Where you coming from? What you doing?" Still, you know, even though we were older and you didn't have to tell them exactly where you were going because you didn't know, they still had some kind of idea. Okay, oh, you going out tonight? Oh yeah, I'm going to a party with Chuck and Kev. Okay, be careful. Or where you going tonight? I'm going on a date with Malika. All right, I like her. You going over to her house? Tell her parents. You know what I'm saying? Because
Right.
if they really didn't like the girl you was dating or something, they'd be like, come on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You know, so I don't know, Maurice, give us some insight on was that similar to your upbringing? Because you are a prime example of what the youth should be looking to strive for. I mean, you know, maybe you may have had mentors like the 3 of us at our age. I don't know, but please elaborate on that for us.
So basically, my mom and my grandpa raised me with help with my aunts. I mean, what she did, she was just kind of what Chuck said earlier. She was a parent. She was a parent. And there was a fear aspect to that.
Yeah, you didn't want that ass beat.
Mom, my ass beat.
You didn't want that. You didn't want that Medea on you. You didn't want that Medea on you.
It was fearful if you mess up or if your grades up to a certain point, it is gonna be your ass. Like, and especially when it came to my grandpa, he was a very no BS type of man, and Same rules. If you just cannot cross certain lines, or you're gonna get your ass whipped. You're gonna get the belt. You're gonna get the stick. You're gonna get whatever they can get their hands on, basically, and it's gonna be it. And that's gonna be that. And I think, like Chuck alluded to earlier, was parents have to be parents. I mean, they have to be. They cannot be too much of a friend. I think having a great relationship is great with your kids. I think there should be open communication, especially these days. I think some of the tactics from the past are totally outdated and should not be carried on from generation to generation. I think there needs to be more open communication between kid and parent. But again, you can't cross certain lines. There needs to be a respect factor. There has to be a fear factor as well.
And with that being said, let me interject for a second. With that being said, a lot of people, I'm assuming Chuck is, and I think Kevin is too, because when we were growing up, ethnicity and color didn't have to do with respect. You get your ass beat in an Italian household, a Latin household, an African American household. I'm a firm believer. Sometimes you got to put the hands on them. You know what I'm saying? And let them, got to give them some act right. But because not that you have to be. Trust me, the way I'm sure I was spanked when I was younger. My father would be locked away like he committed attempt on the president, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, he didn't have to do it all the time because the fear of getting what I got at 10, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's something that I sure didn't want to get at 12 or 11. Like, I still remember that shit to this day. Go ahead, Kevin.
You still wake up with nightmares.
I'm still afraid of my father to this date.
Right.
I'm a 50-year-old man. I still look at my father and go, he can hurt me.
Yeah.
And that's the look you should have as a child in the eyes of your parent. Look, I got 4 kids. I have them every other week. I spend a ton of time with them. We have dinner together. We cook together. We hike together, bike ride together. You got to spend time with them. But there's a line. There's always a line. Every one of my kids knows one thing. If I say, you do this, X will happen. They know every single time X will happen. No ifs, ifs, or buts.
Now, I'm not trying to get you to go to jail or get you arrested tonight, but how did you instill the fear factor when they were younger? You just let them know that, listen, don't do it.
Yeah. You don't even have to. You could raise your hand. You spank a bottom when they're younger a little bit. But
give them a little bit of those.
It is more about finding their weakness. In this generation, their weakness is electronics. So I don't have to hit that kid. You do that, your Xbox is mine.
Right.
And if they did it, I packed that thing right up. There's no they never ever bluff. And like I said, you can ask any one of my 4 kids. They know if it comes out of my mouth, it's happening. And I've done it at times where I regret it afterwards. I'm like, maybe I was a little tough on them today, but I ain't
right. Because what's so funny? I've heard parents say, just what you say, Kev. And I don't know. I mean, I didn't have that luxury. We didn't have internet when I was a child. So, it was just like either you're getting this ass whipping or you better get out my face quick. So, I mean, the worst thing that can happen is turn the TV off. Man, I'd shoot. Whatever you want me to do, long as you ain't going to spank me. You know what I'm saying?
The other thing
was to stay at the wall. And, you're so right, Kevin, because I remember back then it was like, I may not even be able to look out the window and see my friends playing. Because the worst thing is, it's like, LA, you can't come out. You yelling out the window? Oh, God. So, I get it. Maurice, I get it. I understand sometimes people don't want to touch. But like you said, I think it has to be instilled. I'm a firm believer in discipline. I'm a martial artist. I mean, we're all from paramilitary organizations. The police departments around the world have extended the education because they felt that it made you a more structured individual because you studied. Mm-hmm. I personally don't believe that. I feel, that was because school is a person's choice. You understand what I'm saying? But you're right. I mean, fear factor is paramount. We have to do something because right now there's a big gap in us and the children of today and they're not listening to the Chucks, the Kevins, or myself, I don't even know if they're listening to you.
The one thing I'll also say is you have to give, as a child, my mom and my grandma did a really good job of giving me a vision of the future. So when I mean that, I remember my freshman year, my sophomore year of high school, my grades were trash, absolutely trash. To this day, if you told one of my high school teachers I'm an attorney, they probably would not believe you, and that's serious. There's no way. My grades were just awful, and what helped me get them up and kind of turn everything around was my mom giving me the vision of the future. And what I mean by saying that is she made like going to college or having an education seem fun, and I mean fun as hell. She'd give me stories about her college days, her in sorority, her friends. Talk to my dad and his fraternity about it, and the whole experience to me was just like, oh no, this is a place I want to go to because it will be fun. So I think that really helped drive me to be like, oh no, like I'm going to college. Not so much because I was like, oh, hell bent on education. Glad I got it. It was more of I could go have a lot of fun.
Exactly.
That is a big, big, big key for keeping kids on track is making the future seem like fun, actually, like it's something to do and having them visualize that.
Awesome. Hold on, everybody. This is Real Talk Chronicles, and we're your hosts. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my co-host, Chuck Richards, Kevin Branzetti, and our special guest, Maurice Johnson, sports agent for the basketball players and also a lawyer. Michelle says, I blame the system too. I remember when my little brother was 4 years old. We were all in the kitchen, and my stepdad was scolding him for something he did. He told my brother if he keeps up, he's going to knock his head off. As a child, we all knew you better shut up after that. But my brother responded by saying he will call BCW at the time. Now, you know that's the worst thing. Yo, Shell, you might have to tell me the rest of what happened on this story, because if I would have even said something like I'm gonna call somebody, I'd probably walk around here right now with no fingers. You know what I'm saying?
And this was 4 years old.
What, 4 years old? He got your little brother got a lot of balls on him. You got little big nuts. Hold on, let me get back to what he said. 4 years old, BCWs. Let's see, but brother responded saying, "Hope you so." I was surprised that he knew of that. Yeah, I was surprised he's still alive. So I asked him, what is BCW? And he said the Children Police. So pretty much children will use that against parents. You know what's so funny? And Michelle, full transparency, I hope you heard the answer that Maurice gave in regards to that statement. Also, Pastor Kevin Graves is in the building with us. He said he didn't have Xbox growing up, but his mother had a leather belt. Shout out to Pastor Gray. And speaking of that, since we have a nice volume of people in here, everybody keep your train of thought. I want to give you my special surprise that I told everybody I had a special announcement tonight. Joining the Real Talk Chronicles family is Dr. Marilyn Corder. She will be doing the second Monday of every month, and she will be here in health, Real Talk and Health. So that's good. Right. We just had Dr. Corder on Monday with the whole panel, and she was talking about the Delta variant. She was talking about the COVID and stuff like that. So please, if you want to, you can always go back. Especially the beautiful thing about a podcast, you can just go back to YouTube and watch it, even if you're out now. You know, Maurice, I don't know, are these athletes getting shots, vaccinated? I mean, what's going on with them? Because still, what the doctor was telling the three of us or the panel the other day, this Delta is worse right now than the regular COVID.
Most of the NBA, I'd say a majority, maybe a little bit more than 60%, are vaccinated. Most players are vaccinated. It also currently, with the draft here in about 2 weeks coming up, the workouts, the combines, all of that, they basically wanted people to be vaccinated. That way you can move around the facility kind of freely, not under so many restrictions. So most of my players are vaccinated, as well as, like I said, probably a little bit more than 60% of the league is as well. And they definitely encourage it.
And definitely, I will ask you or tell Chuck to have you chime in next month when we have the doctor, because she was also saying that it's almost like 30% of people of color in certain communities are not even taking the vaccine. So the numbers are disparaging, to say the least, for people of color, because some people were just, and she said she understood the old conspiracy theories and stuff like that, and certain things are true, because people of color just, I mean, let me tell you something. When this vaccine came out, white people and everybody at first was like, I'm not taking it. But then when I started seeing a whole bunch of white people online taking it, I said, I knew this is the shit to take. Now, this real talk. I was like, yo, let me tell you something, Kev, Chuck, and Maurice. There was the St. Anne's in the projects. People were shooting, pew, pew. White people were like, oh, so it's okay, sweetheart. Don't worry. We'll just get out of here in a minute. Pew, pew. Okay. Sorry. And I'm in the way. So, I mean, the conversation was really enlightening and thought provocative for us to have with the doctor. So please,
she was great. Well,
yeah,
right? She was great. I learned some things. If you got kids and you're kind of curious at what's going on with the new variant and with possibilities of vaccine, should your kids wear masks in school, I would go back and listen to that podcast on Monday. I learned a ton, and I'm very grateful to having her on. Yeah,
definitely. And like she said, she will be here the second Monday of every month. Dr. Marilyn Corder, and then sometimes maybe her husband will chime in with us. So then we'll get two doctors for the price of one, and whomever she brings to her show. So with that being said, and all that saying, what else do we got to show, Kev?
Well, what did you else pass me? But I still want to go back to, like, we talked a little about the guns, but if parents don't, right now we're not seeing parents take control, right? So cops aren't. We've ended anti-crime in New York City. We've ended stop and frisk. Kids are feeling free to walk around with guns. Parents aren't doing anything about it. What do we do?
Oh, what's so funny? I'm glad you brought us back to that topic, and thank you for that, because I just saw the Bronx DA speaking. I think it was yesterday or today. She was like, the boys are getting out. You had Commissioner Shea talking about, he's blaming it on the reform. Cats. I mean, come on now. I was just, my uncle and I were talking about this earlier. People are just coming out of jail. And where are they going back? They're going back into the communities that they committed these crimes, right? And now when you know that I can commit a crime and not be stopped, or not have the fear of carrying a gun. And now, Maurice, I'm glad you're here. So because we can come from a legal standpoint of this too. Like Kevin said, listen, people are just walking around here with guns in their pocket, like credit cards, and you know what I'm saying. And it's the kids, and the crimes are violent. They're violent crimes. I know you're not a psychiatrist. Trust me, I'm going to ask the doctor some questions about this. Because listen, as kids, and Maurice, you're a young man too, but come on, the violence and the crime is so paramount. What the hell are these kids watching today on TV? I mean, we had the most violent TV shows. We had Bugs Bunny slapping Elmer Fudd. You had Fred Flintstone getting his ass kicked. So I don't understand. Every cartoon we watched, there was an ass whipping at the end of the show. So go ahead, please enlighten us, man.
So I feel like we're talking about the problem on a micro level right now in terms of guns and how they affect the community and the children and how the violent crime itself. But honestly, overall, I think the problem is definitely a macro issue. And what I mean by that, I think you got to get some type of gun control or gun reform in the country, in my opinion. There's not really a way around it. This is just my opinion. I really just don't think there's a way around it. I think legislatively, that is a responsibility for adults. I mean, yes, children seem to be the numbers are going up in terms of child crimes, them carrying guns, but I also think that's a stem off the availability and readiness of guns. You can get them anywhere and everywhere pretty easily right now, especially in certain states. I think that's a legislative problem. I also think, again, this is a problem that the consequences and effects are having effects on children, but this is a problem that needs to be solved by adults, in my opinion. Like, you have to start at the top, and you have to start at the legislative base. And as much as people want to complain and argue about it, there has to be at some level some type of gun control. But then you also go into an issue with the Constitution and Second Amendment, which is a whole nother bag of issues, which prevents a lot of the things I'm saying from actually coming to happen or coming to fruition. Because again, as great as that document is, our Constitution, it also, you have amendments in it for a reason. And because of those, it's hard to get certain things done, like gun control. I think that's the immediate problem you have to solve, to be honest. I think it's a macro issue, and adults need to be adults. I
totally agree with you. Any of you gentlemen want to comment? Kev, Chuck?
I'm completely for better gun legislation. Believe me, I don't like big weapons on. Nobody needs a machine gun to protect their home. My theory has always been, if you need a machine gun to protect your home, move. You're in the wrong neighborhood. There's no neighborhood in this country you should need that. The handguns, and if we legislate, and if we hit today and legislate the crap out of this, there are 1 million handguns on our streets today. This is not going to change it. Like most things, it's a multiple prong approach. There's no one-stop solution. If the feds change the law today, that takes a chunk. If we change a little bit back to, bail reform, changes a chunk. I'm a tremendous fan of, we have to change our school system. Poor neighborhoods need better schools, right? Maurice, you talked about your mom gave you in your head the dream of college. Are we giving that to our kids? Right? When I grew up, I grew up lower middle class in Queens. I didn't go to college. None of my friends went to college. But we were taught, get a city job, get a pension, get a job, and that was all of our goals. We took a test, but that was ingrained in us from kids.
Right.
We need to ingrain stuff in these kids from elementary school. Our public schools in our cities, in the poorer neighborhoods, it should be twice as many teachers. It should be 20 kids in the classroom, and where they could spend more time talking to them, learning a little bit about them, mentoring them. Bring in college students from the nearby university. Let them mentor them. Bring in guys like yourself. Bring in other, there's plenty of people who will volunteer time, but we need the process. It is different to educate a kid in every school in the city. But I think our poor neighborhoods, we should invest in them. Instead, we invest in their prisons for when they're 20. Right? It's ass backwards in my world. But it takes a lot of things to turn this on its head. There is not one single solution we could come up with and say, if we change this, it'll be done. It won't. We can't make every mom and dad start searching their kids walking in the door today. I'd love it because it would stop it, right? That would be the one easier solution. But, those parents aren't doing it, and they're not going to change in a heartbeat. We need to start talking to kids and educating them young. I mean, look at what educating kids young with just something simple as smoking. Right? It was beating our heads as kids, how bad smoking is, bad smoking is, bad smoking. And in generation, the amount of smoking kind of dwindled. Right?
No. They told us don't smoke, and the next thing you know, we was outside at 15, 22 years old smoking cigarettes. They told us don't do it. I know what you're saying, Kev.
The younger generation, I'm sure Maurice saw less people hanging out in the hallways of his high school outside smoking.
No, but I was being facetious, but I mean, it's also actual too. I mean, I'm sure everybody here had a cigarette one time and be like, either you liked it or you didn't like it. They tell us don't drink, don't do this.
If we did this podcast 40 years ago, the four of us would be smoking during the podcast. 40 years ago, right? Like people in your home, ain't nobody smoking in my home, right?
But see, that's the whole thing. As we got older, we developed things that we don't like and we don't want. I mean, Kev, you're not a big drinker, you're not a smoker at all. So you know what I'm saying? That's just who you are. Yeah. Even if you may have one beer or some shit, and then be like, all right, I got to go. 10. Yeah, exactly. But you may not have Tito's. So you know what I'm saying? So you pick your poison. I mean, one thing Pastor Kevin Graves said. He said that the proliferation of illegal firearms in our city requires a federal, state, and local government response. I totally agree with that. I also think, maybe selling guns should be like, hypothetically, say, I'm being transparent here. To sell a gun is not a felony. A lot of people don't know that. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, right, Chuck? I think it's a misdemeanor.
Depending upon the gun, what you're going to use it for, how many. But what we used to do right back in the day with all us when we were doing these kinds of jobs, we would do gun buys, and then we would always try to buy crack with it, because the crack sale with the guns got the guy jail time.
Push right.
We're backwards.
Right.
You did more time for selling coke and crack than you did for selling guns in our city, which is
yes. And that's why it's so funny. You got guys right now that are just coming out of jail that's did 25 years over just drugs and no violent crimes. So now maybe what we need to do is put 20 years on every gun that you sell.
Right.
Right. Because now I'm telling you, if I get 20 years for selling one gun, I bet you we go back to knives and slingshots and shit. And bow and arrows. I know if I'm selling a gun and if I get 20 years for one, and say it's a federal crime, and we know anybody that does fed time is 85% of the time.
Right. Right. You ain't getting parole. If it's 85 and a half years, you're doing 85 and a half years.
And if you gave a kid a gun, right? So you're a gangbanger and you gave a 15-year-old a gun, that's 20 years. I get rid of you. Like, you got to scare him. You shouldn't, you're a 19-year-old guy giving a 14-year-old kid a gun.
And you know what's so funny? I think that should be an extra charge.
Age matters.
Because you know what's so funny? Remember, if you sold drugs near a school, that was a drug school charge, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it was tacked on. So, I mean, I don't know, Maurice, what do you think about what we're saying? Because, I mean, like I said, you're a lawyer, but I mean, I think whomever who's changed these laws, they really dropped the ball in New York City with the reform. And I'm not saying that reform is not good for somebody like one of us that what?
We needed some reform here, Bill. I mean, remember when we were cops, right?
Oh, hell yeah, I know we needed some reform.
We needed, like, there was a balance, and we went over it, right? Like, misdemeanors, people should not be sitting in jail for 3 days because you got locked up for like, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, like petty larceny. You're sitting in there for something. I'm just using an example. I'm not trying to.
Yeah, people like that should not get a bail.
Yeah, or jump in the turnstile because you don't have money to pay for or whatever. You sit in there for 4 days or 5 days. Let's knock it off. Mm-hmm. But let me tell you something. If the crime is violent, or even if it comes down to maybe, and we can even tinker this with like even domestic violence. You know what I'm saying? Like domestic violence, not just I hate you and I knocked over my own vase and I threw a rock through my window. I'm talking about domestic violence in physically hitting someone or bodily harm. Mm-hmm. When the crime deems of violence, I mean, there's no way in hell this guy. I think Kevin, I think I sent you one of the videos about the men in the Bronx. Getting hurt. We can play that or just give a little brief synopsis of it. They said the Bronx DA said, "Yo, dude has been in and out of jail, a little juvenile or whatever." Mm-hmm. And he's just coming out like recess. And it's so funny. People, the young, are wearing jail as a badge of honor now.
Yes. Right.
I've been in jail before. It ain't that bad.
Right.
Listen, my old ass ain't trying to go to jail. I wasn't trying to go to jail when I was younger. I didn't even like escorting anybody down to Central. I didn't like to do the P-Van. I ain't want to do
terrible. Yeah.
So, I mean, Kev, give us another video so we can talk about it.
Which one do you want to go to? Like, you gave me some different things, so we can even go off topic here.
Yeah, I don't even know what I have.
You don't even know what you gave me. How about the retired cop getting charged?
Oh yes. Okay, let's talk about that. And give me, and Maurice, let's talk about that. Let me know your take on this nut job. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, there it is. And Kev, you could just play it up until before they go to talk about the Senate. We could just play it up until the crime. Let me know when you're ready.
Capitol riots this week. Retired NYPD officer Thomas Webster surrendered to the FBI. Federal prosecutors say the 54-year-old attacked a Capitol police officer with a flagpole. Webster also allegedly pulled down the officer's helmet, choking him. NBC News investigations correspondent Tom Winter joining me now. Tom, what's Webster with here? And do we know why he attacked a fellow officer?
Well, Allison, as you said, faces some pretty serious charges here tied to that incident involving the officer. Those images that you were just showing and we were looking at on screen are from the criminal complaint, and they're from, in some instances, the body's own body-worn camera. So the image you're looking at there, that's the view that the officer had as Webster was coming at him there. Obviously, scary images, 6 counts here, including assaulting of a federal officer, so some pretty heavy charges. This is a case that I, based on the evidence alone, does not look very good for Webster. It all, obviously, as far as his motives, he was clearly part of what was going on that day, a pro-Trump rally that turned into a riot about the election and the election results. He was later, according to other video that was found on YouTube, saying that there needed to be more patriots on the Capitol steps to continue their protests, and obviously, which turned into a violent riot there, Allison.
Yeah, Tom, Webster is one of about 245 people charged in the Capitol riots so far, but the FBI has identified over 400 suspects. Any indication from the FBI if they're making headway on the 150 or so suspects still left?
Sure. So it just depends on what part of the country things are coming from. But on a typical day, we do hear of a number of arrests that come forward. We hear about people from all walks of life. Obviously, we've had a number of first responders, including Webster. And so, yes, they continue to examine these. You know, in the Webster case, they actually identified him through several different means, including looking at a license plate reader, matching that up to when he might have been in the D.C. area, even talking to an administrator at his kid's school to try to match up photos, and I positively identify him. You know, I neglected to say before, Allison, it was interesting yesterday because the New York City Police Union, the largest police union in the city, the PBA, did come out with the statement against Webster. It was really a forceful repudiation of what he did. They said this was a disgusting assault on our Capitol Police brothers and sisters, on our government, and on everything that New York City police officers stand for. Even worse, the suspect once wore a uniform. Justice must be swift and severe. According to our colleague Jonathan Dienst, he was once on the mayoral detail and worked at City Hall here in New York City. So, you know, when you look at the 245 people that you were just saying that have been charged here, they really come from all acts of life, and their actions have certainly upset a number of people, and they face some pretty serious charges going forward, Allison.
Yeah, pretty incredible there, Tom, just to think that a former NYPD officer, someone who, as you said, once protected the mayor, could potentially have done that. Let me ask about this. Senator Amy Klobuchar blaming intelligence for the full response on the 6th. Here's what she...
Okay, so I want to go to you, Maurice, but I will say this real quick. I guess blue lives didn't matter to him, right? That's crazy. Kevin and Chuck, keep this in your think tank. This is the first time I think we've heard NYPD denounce something of that magnitude, right? Which was very big, and I was very shocked to hear that, because if they were to do that with anything else in other cases, I think there would be a better relationship with law enforcement. Hold that thought, and I'll come to you, Chuck and Kevin, on that. But hold that in your memory bank. Maurice, give me your thoughts on what you saw on January 6th.
Wow. it was a lot to unpack, to say the least. I saw a lot of grown adults that lost their mind in the simplest of terms, to be honest. I thought that the punishments and the actions that were taken those days should have been punished way harder, honestly, on some of those individuals. In simplest terms, I mean, it was an attack. It was an attack on our country, which is technically the definition of terrorism. So it's domestic terrorism on the capital, so to speak. And I think it's treason. I mean, I think that those people should be held responsible to the fullest extent, which they weren't. And I think that's the simplest way to put it, is it was domestic terrorism that day. If you define it as anything different, I feel like it's a pass and a scapegoat, honestly. I mean, that is the blatant definition of terrorism. So if you're taking words and definitions as they are, that's what it was. And I thought it should have been punished accordingly.
Absolutely. Chuck, like I said, now let's go back to that big elephant in this room. And Maurice, you can always chime in if you feel free, need to. And Kev, this is definitely directed to you two. NYPD denounced it. First time I've ever heard them in all my 20-some years dealing with law enforcement, right? Ever denounce anything in regards to that. Good, bad, or indifferent, because they've never denounced any police shootings or interactions with civilians. But the fact that they denounce a law enforcement officer attacking another law enforcement. Oh, no, this shit was crazy. Don't do this. We denounce him. Now, I agree with them. They should denounce him. But the bottom line is, what's your take on that, Chuck?
I mean, I understand the fact that, they wanted to make some public statement because it was someone who once was blue, now attacking somebody who's blue. All right, I get that. But once again, I think it was also a moral obligation for the PBA when that insurrection occurred, when the PBA supported Trump, when the PBA went in so far as going to New Jersey to this man's golf course instead of, excuse me, expression, if Trump really was a real man, he'd have brought his ass into New York and went to the PBA office. But instead, they went to him, kissed the ring, and then here it is. When this insurrection occurred, there was no statement directly related to the actions or the behavior that was facilitated based on this president's words, nor was there anything said directly related to those Capitol Police at some point actually being assaulted till later down the line. But now all of a sudden, when it came down to, let's say, NYPD and a former cop of one PB officer, and was a part of union or whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. Now and
the mayor's detail on top of that.
The mayor's detail. Now he comes out and he wants to make a statement. Now he wants to denounce such behavior. And you're right. If in fact, let's say the PBA honestly denounced more actions, more issues associated, not just based on a former police officer on another police officer, but just issues associated with the public, all right, with the community. I think that would have gone, and that would go a long way in terms of bridging some of the gaps, And then guess what? We all know those conversations we're going to have, whether we're blue, whether we're the community, whether we're clergy, we have to be very clear and understanding. They're not going to be pretty, all right? They're not going to be pretty. None of these conversations are going to be pretty, but it has to start somewhere. And in order to find out what the root of it is, we have to sit in a room. And we have to say some things that we dislike. We have to hear things that we don't want to talk about. We have to talk about the things that may, on all honesty, may put like a cattle prod in someone, and it may spark some type of arguments. But we need to have those dialogues in order to get to the root of being able to at least sever some of these ties that we have of dislike for one another and be able to find a way of working together. So on one hand, all right, fine. The Police Benevolence Association came out and made a statement. But as far as I'm concerned, it was a little too late, and they should have been making statements all along about some of the other nonsense that was occurring since having to do with January 6th.
Yeah, thank you. Kev, before I'll come to you, Kev, I want to shout out to my man Norm, my little North Carolina PD brothers in the building, my college basketball player. Big Norm in the building. Also, Pastor Gray said, what I saw was a group of people who didn't have all their facts and believed their leader. Now let's see if their leader or president pays for their legal costs. Kev, I know, I mean, we've talked about this before. You could talk about anything, of course, you want, but what's your take on them denouncing him on a law enforcement standpoint and not denouncing officers that have done things and found guilty? Let's stay with we'll play with the word guilty.
Well, it's the PBA, so this is denouncing one of their own, not law enforcement from another city, state. So maybe that's the motive here. They want to stay in their lane. Right?
Okay.
So it's only an NYPD one. So this is the first time the NYPD PBA has denounced a member, right? It's a retired member. They've denounced them. So we got to applaud it and be happy with it. It's a good starting point. I'm not going to condemn them for saying, well, they should have done this one, they should have done that one. This is the only NYPD one convicted of something in recent memory, so or arrested for something in recent memory. So I got to go with, and it's the PBA's job to pay for the lawyers to defend cops who are arrested, right?
Right.
So this is it's pretty monumental for them to say that, right? So I cannot.
I got you.
But applaud him because the video's there. It's pretty crystal clear, right?
Absolutely,
and he deserves to go to jail. Maurice, I do have an argument with you a little bit. You're saying none of these guys have gotten what they deserved. There's over 500 at this point that have been arrested. They're not adjudicated, so we don't know what anybody's getting yet, right? Like we're not at that stage.
But Kev, you weren't here, and let me interject. And Chuck can remember contest to this. One of the first people that already have just had their trial, they got suspended.
They got suspended because they were just convicted of. So there's different
levels. They got convicted of trespassing.
So there are people who just trespassed, right? There are people who trespassed and committed assault. There are people who trespassed with weapons. People who trespassed who trespass with do damage property. There are people who trespass with flex cuffs. There's a different level of each, right? We in the law, there's different for all of them. I am a tremendous fan of everybody who showed up there trespassed with a pair of flex cuffs goes to jail. I got no, what the hell were you doing with flex cuffs? I really believe those people would have hurt people inside if they had an opportunity. You showed up with a weapon, go to jail. You're the one who broke in, go to jail. You're like this cop right here who assaulted somebody, go to jail. Done. Trespassing, those people, the person who pled guilty for that, they did like 90 days already. I don't think that's an unfair thing for the mob going in for trespassing. And in everything else in this country, prosecutors have dropped all charges on anything to do with riot, destruction of property, burning buildings in riots, breaking into police departments, breaking into other government buildings, breaking into stores, dropped all of them. Nobody's doing jail time. So this to me is a little different. And it was only trespassing.
See, that's where
it's the worst building in the country, Maurice. Don't get me wrong. I got no patience or time for any of this. But we also have to be, where the law stands on these things. And it is trespassing in a building.
Yeah, but just like everything else, the law takes context into account. And in terms of what was happening in that timely element of that was a riot on the Capitol building. So I think trespass, I mean, that's a hard pass that you're giving them on trespassing, because I think you can definitely elevate that level way past trespassing because of the timeliness and context of the situation.
Raise it to what?
That was where I would have to argue again, because I'm not exactly sure what you charge it with in that point. I mean,
but that's what I'm getting at, Maurice. There's hundreds who win it. Hundreds.
You can get incitement in certain instances. I
mean, you can't get incitement if you can't prove incitement, right? That's the people who are standing in front screaming, "Let's go, do it!" And you have video. I'm with you.
Wasn't it planned?
There's several. This gets really convoluted. There are several organizations who had planned, and these were the ones who actually had planned way in advance to go there. Were anti-government organizations, not pro-Trump organizations. They were anti-government
Well, that component can maybe get it right there.
And those are different. The ones we can prove as government that you're part of, God, what are the names of these? There's a whole bunch of entities there. The 2%ers, there's 3%ers, and some others. The ones who are in their outfit with their insignias, again, they're getting charged differently. It is the person who was there at the protest, and all we can show is they went in with the crowd and came out. I can't see how you could charge anything else.
What do you mean by in? Do you mean in on terms of the ground, or do you mean in terms of the in the building?
Into the building, into the Capitol building?
I just find that kind of hard. I mean, taking into consideration the magnitude of everything that was occurring, I mean, outside of trespass, I mean, they were a part of a mob.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They didn't go in there to look at, I don't know, Betty Davis' freaking desk or some shit. They went in there with a mob, with a particular agenda to try to stop a process, a process that this country is built on. And just the mere fact that they were a part of that mob, and just because they just went in with the people and all they did was trespass, there should have been more. They should have been tacked on.
But
you could just do treason.
Intent.
It could technically, you could technically charge them all for treason. Also.
Not without intent, Maurice. No, you can't.
Entering the building in that instance, in that conduct, in that time, that would be intent.
That you can't say the intent was treason. No, you can't. Are there people in there? The intent is treason. 100%, Maurice. Are there people in that?
Is not what needed to prove treason, though. That
you absolutely need element. You absolutely need intent. You can't be just being part of the crowd that entered.
But what I'm saying is not. What I'm saying is intent is not the only element which proves treason. There are several elements that have to be met or not met to make treason. That one,
but the only
either way. But there, I mean, you could definitely get them for entering the building in terms of that riot, the Capitol building, in that context during a legislative session, especially. You could get treason. You can get treason
for certain people. Yes,
if you entered the building, period. Especially because there was a legislative session literally going on at that time. You can get them for that. You can definitely get them for that.
Especially taking into consideration they entered that particular location forcibly. It wasn't like
during that time during a closed legislative session.
Yeah, they forcibly.
That alone could be intent.
That's beyond trespass.
You know, it's a legislative session going on in those chambers, so that could be intent enough going if you enter there. Literally, that could be enough for intent.
Let me ask you. Let me just throw this out to the whole panel. People have gotten arrested before for being with people, and the title has been acting in concert, right?
Right.
So and done time for that. So Kevin, my question to you and Maurice, my question to you is that. Because I think you and I are on the same page, and I think Chuck is too. And Kevin is talking about certain individuals, not all. My thing is that for you to go in there knowingly, because that's the key word here. We all know like Chuck, Kevin, and I are layman lawyers, and Maurice, you are the lawyer. We play with the words when we deal with law in the culpable mental state. Knowingly was the crime, right?
You can knowingly charge them with the trespass. You cannot. There's 1,000 people. This is why they're pulling apart. Look, they're going through video by video, right? And they're going through things. And believe me, there are people who are part of organized things, and they're being indicted for more and more things. I don't think we'll ever see treason in this. I'm reading the treason laws we're talking, and that's a tough one to prove. But they're being charged with violent felonies through this. No question. And there are people with that. What I'm saying is, 1,000 people went in. We cannot charge all 1,000 with a treason. It just doesn't fit.
I was going to say, so how many people were there technically at January 6th? Do we know the number?
I don't know.
And how many people are getting charged?
We're over 500 who have been arrested. Over 500, and the numbers are still coming in.
And then there were probably a couple of thousand there, I'm guessing.
It's hard to say.
Did she say 500 had been arrested, or she said 400 had been arrested?
That article's old. I'm looking at DOJ keeps the stats. It's over 500 today.
All right,
it's over 500. You know me, stats. Come on.
No, I know. I got
Come on, Bill.
I was just about to say. I know you on your game. Now, let me just read a comment before we go on. My man Norm said, man, I'm listening to what the topic is. There is a group of government that don't want peace among the people. That was an organized attack on the Capitol. It is my opinion that if anyone who is in blue was charged, who changed with any criminal charges in relation to the attack of the Capitol, that the PBA should not pay their legal fees. Absolutely.
He's retired. They're no longer members of the. The PBA wouldn't be paying it.
No, but then Kevin Graves said when they trespassed, what was their intent? And that's when I went back to the culpable mental state. Michelle, so Kevin said, why aren't the ones that were shouting to have the VP aren't being charged with attempt to commit murder? They set up gallows outside that said the same day. Isn't that an attempt?
And you'll see as the weeks go by. So this is one of the most complicated cases the FBI's ever had to handle. Show me a case where they've locked up 500 plus people from one incident. It doesn't exist. The assets being spent on this is outrageous. Believe me. But what the initial thing is, it's identify, arrest, and then you take in their data. They have to go through the person's cell phone, they search they do warrants in their homes, they take in their personal computer. This is where all the intense stuff is going to come. And if you watch the indictments as they change, there are a lot of people, they're superseding indictments and they're getting charged with the violent end of this. It is happening. It is absolutely happening. You just Google DOJ.
Let me ask you a question. No one has done time yet for this, though.
You don't do time instantly, Bill. It happened in January.
I know, but what I'm trying to say, they're waiting for.
There are people who've been sitting in for 5 months, been arrested.
So
they're not getting ROR.
So I know. So okay, they didn't get OR. So we're dealing with time served. So I mean, all right, I get what you're saying.
If you, like I said, go to the Google DOJ Capitol arrests, and you'll see everyone is public.
All right,
they're by the hundreds.
I look like Maurice is about to get in his stat game. Look like he was about.
He's googling it. I like it.
Maurice, that's right. Go ahead, brother. Get in there.
Again, make no mistake about it, Bill. I'm not siding with people. What I'm trying to give is, a letter of the law. I said, somebody with a weapon, jail time. Somebody with flex cuffs, jail time. Somebody who hurt somebody, jail time. You smash something, jail time. Like the people who pre-planned it, jail time. I got no qualms with that. But some people went there and got caught up. And, if you don't have those mitigating factors or some other mitigating factor,
so when you say, so let me ask you a question before we move on, and then I'll let Chuck and then I'll let Maurice have the last say on this, and then we'll go on to another topic because I don't want to keep Maurice too long because we could keep his ass all night. He don't know. Real talk is real talk, brother. We start chopping it up, and our minds start working, brother. It's a whole nother job. But when you say caught up how? Like, oh, come on in. Nah, I don't want to come in. Nah, come on in. Yeah, okay.
It happens at protests, and we've seen it in protests in New York and all over the country, where there's a few people who are instigating and start things, and they'll knock down the barrier, and the rest of the crowd comes through. It wasn't the intent, and they just kind of get caught up in the moment. And we have charged that accordingly in all riots across this country. Right? It's if you're not the one committing the act of violence, we have every municipality in this country has declined prosecution on people who are.
Okay, so let me just ask you a question. Let me just ask you this question. I get what you're saying about, people they knock down a barrier, people going. Same thing about looting. People bust a store window open and people start going in and start taking shit. Or some people just go in and haven't even stolen anything yet and they get arrested. Should they not
those being dropped? All that stuff's dropped, Bill. Google any city in the country.
Are you talking more about the fact that it's dropped, or you're talking about the charge? Because I think we're talking about the charge. You're talking about the case being dropped, right?
I'm talking about both. I'm talking about that the looters, they're not going to jail. Nobody's going to jail for looting. Nobody's doing time for looting. All right, that's not happening anywhere. We have decided that people, it was emotional and got caught up in the moment, and they've been allowed to to have their moment.
But we're talking about an incident that unfortunately we were talking about. I see where you're coming from, but by the same token, this was an incident where, in fact, even if you get caught up, you see someone is about to storm the Capitol and they're going through an area where they shouldn't. Now it's a choice, right? Now, as a human being, you have to make a choice. You're an adult. You make a choice. It's not like some little kids that you're getting pushed in and all of a sudden, it's a fire and everyone's getting trampled on trying to get out of a door. Now you have to make a choice. You make a choice now to follow this group into an area which you know you shouldn't be in. 2, there's a legislative session that is actually being conducted. Those people are there trying to stop that legislative process from coming to fruition. So now all of a sudden, I'm only getting trespassed. I got caught up in a moment, and then subsequent to that, 2 or 3 people die. So I don't understand why is it that now you're saying I get it in terms of getting caught up in a moment. But when it leads to actually someone actually dying, right? You got people got trampled, you got cops that died. I'm sorry, that the trespassing aspect of it or getting caught up in a moment, I can't buy that. I can't.
Well, a couple of things. Still, we can't just charge everybody with, assault, riot, murder.
No, I get that.
No, okay. and in the end, nobody died from injuries of that riot. 0, except for the one woman shot and killed.
I thought 2.
Right.
Yeah, I thought, yeah.
No, none. Except for the one the cop killed. Nobody else died of injuries from the thing. The cop who died, they ruled it not a homicide. The medical examiner.
Okay. After some quick little research. So you definitely could get them on K. So if you wanted to do a blanket and try to get everybody and not do individual, you could definitely go about it in several different ways. Treason would be one of them because it's built on case law precedent. So it's built on precedent. And there's barely any examples of this because it's can riot on the Capitol. So you probably could build it through there and get that level on treason alone. Number 2 is you also could get them for seditious conspiracy. You could get them for sedition.
Ooh, I don't know how to spell that shit, but you could get it for.
So I mean, either way, especially, and you know why you can. The only thing that triggers it is because there's a legislative session going on. You can get them on that alone, especially if they enter during that. It's easy. Yeah, and like I said, that's built on. I'm
going to still disagree with you. You're saying it's easy, but it's not.
I mean, they've never been.
Because you're still missing the intent of some. There were people in there who. Well, actually, let me look through this. Let's see if sedition is charged in any of them.
I was just playing with y'all. Yeah, so we're talking about sedition. So go ahead.
No, in the list, nobody's been charged with sedition.
I'm saying if you want to do a blanket, what we were talking about, trying to get everybody instead of doing trespass, you could definitely do sedition. But I don't even know how many times sedition has been used in the history of the country. So that's why I'm saying.
Marie, can you tell people what sedition is for those that don't know?
It's basically conspiracy to overthrow a government, basically.
Exactly.
Thank you. And you need to prove the intent. There's people in there you'll be able to prove it, but the general public you can't just charge them all.
What I'm saying, what gets it is because of the session, because the legislative Congress in session. That's what gets it. You can get them with that. So you need. If there was no session going on, you couldn't get them. If it was just like if the building was empty and it was got tourism day or whatever, then probably not. Because of that was going on, and they were aware of that it was going on. For sure.
Let me just read some comments real quick. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my co-host, Chuck Richards, Kevin Branzetti, and our special guest, Maurice Johnson. We are in the building. We are talking everything current today. And please, if you missed anything, go back and watch it. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to it. If you're watching it from whomever invited you, please share it, and let's keep the buzz going. And I just want to read some of the comments. Big Norm said, one of the things to remember, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. That's why it's so many plea bargains. Some feel that a little time is better than no time. Michelle said, GOP members involved, they should get jail time too. But this is no ordinary protest. Colin said, grown-ass folks don't get caught up. If they do, then they should get jail time. Michelle said, they're dropping charges, making room for the insurrectionists. Kevin agrees. Many of these insurrectionists felt that their life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness were under attack. and they deliberately went after the lawmakers who they felt, including Vice President Mike Pence, was responsible for this. But Michelle said, let's talk about Babbitt. Colin says she is somebody. Stefania says stats 2.0 stepping in the building. Oops, Kevin Branzetti, he parked your ass. I don't know what she's talking about. Vera said, hey, cuz, from the other branch of the family. What's going on, cuz? Norman Davis said, everyone that is arrested should be charged with manslaughter. Just like if you're with someone who kills someone, everyone takes that charge. Wow, that's something to think about. Michelle said, but they are charging the congresswoman that tried to enter when FI governor was passing the law. Remember that? Yeah. She got charged with a crime when they said she tried to do it. That's when Steph said, oh yeah, she parked your ass. So anyway, listen, there's not going to be a resolution on this. I think a lot of us agree to disagree. Kevin, Chuck, your last comments on this topic. Kevin, your last comments on this topic. And Maurice, I'll let you finish out since you're the special guest. So go ahead, Chuck, and then we're going to move on to something else. We don't want to stay past 9, so we got a few more minutes. So go ahead, Chuck.
Well, like I said, I mean, as Stats made it very clear, this thing is still going through its process. I just feel that trespass and anything associated with the people that happened to storm the Capitol, I mean, there should have been more than just trespass. I mean, that's just my personal feelings, regardless of circumstances. Trump's made very clear to them that, you know what, something unconstitutional is happening in the Capitol. He kind of gave them like marching orders, and they followed through. And after that, getting caught up, I can't buy that. The intent, and they knowingly stormed that building for the purposes of one purpose reason, multiple purposes. You had some cats that have flex cuffs. They were definitely looking to take some prisoners, right? You have people going into various offices, breaking into the offices, sitting and taking all types of information and tape recorders and books and things of that nature off of some of these, the GOP or whatever case their desks. And then you have people that just was there for the purposes of what? I don't know. They just wanted to hang out? No, they all went there for one purpose and one purpose only, to stop that legislative process. And they did not want this man to be confirmed. And I don't care who, that was their reason. They knowingly went into that building, and to say that, well, I'm a grown person, I got caught up, that's bullshit. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Thank you, Chuck. Kev?
It's still going on. Like I said, it is the largest investigation I believe the FBI has ever done. It is 500 plus people being arrested, and the count is not over. It is not. So this is not an incident that's being ignored. It's not being treated lightly. There is no crime in this country that was treated with more since 9/11. I guess that would be the closest to the amount of manpower that's been put into this. There's nothing since 9/11 that's had more manpower and investigations. There are people who are going to do some heavy jail time from this. Believe me.
I really hope so, Kevin, on that aspect. I really hope so.
And if they don't, I'm with you. We'll go back. We'll go riot.
Oh shit! Watch out now.
I'm with you.
Maurice, your last thoughts on this?
Like I said in the beginning, I think it was domestic terrorism. I think it was an attack on our country. I think it was completely unacceptable. I think because it's such a one-off that we've damn near never had this happen in our country before. I think now is the time to set a heavy precedent to let the country know that attacks on our Capitol building, and our legislative process are unacceptable. So I think the book needs to be thrown at these individuals, and it needs to set a precedent going forward so that these type of things do not happen and our democracy does not get put in jeopardy again.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Kev, let's show, if you can find it, let's show the dumb police officer. Everybody, let me give you a little brief synopsis of this buffoon. He pulls somebody over on a car stop. Black officer. He really thought he was blue on this shit. He pulls over a white man, and he tries to erase the video footage of the man videotaping him feeling like, yo, you disrespected me or you violating my rights. But his body cam is on.
Which
Yeah,
one is
he's
this
a
one,
fucking
Bill?
idiot. I'm sorry. His body cam is on. And you see Miss Nimrod erasing all this shit. Yo, Kev, you got it yet?
Is this one you sent me in a text or an email?
No, I think I sent it in an email. Please find this fucking nut. You know what I'm saying?
Don't hold back, Bill.
No, you know what's so funny? Listen. An idiot is an idiot, no matter what's his nationality. You know what I'm saying? Yo, I can't protect the fool. You know what I'm saying? Let me say something. You and everybody. This is not me trying to dog out a police department. No, this is or NY. This is not NYPD. This is a guy. He's a brother. Power to the people. Yo, whatever. Yo, a fool is a fool. Listen, real talk. If you do something stupid, who am I not to call you stupid? You know what I'm saying? I'm going to help you out. I'm going to oblige you on all the dumb shit that you do. I'm going to make sure that you know that you're stupid. So that's not my fault. Why would you try to erase? You got your body. Please find it, Kevin, because I can't.
I got you.
You got it? All right.
I was just enjoying listening to you.
Yo, it's just hilarious. Everybody, enjoy this nonsense. This is
it. Sorry. I paused.
Yeah.
Come on. Where's my little thing? It's not the volume thing's not popping up here.
You want
2G?
Uh-oh.
The Philadelphia Police Department. He's accusing an officer of deleting video from an arrest from a cell phone. Eyewitness News reporter Howard Monroe has more.
There's dishonesty happening here. There's tampering happening with evidence, and it kills. It harms the community.
This is video of Philadelphia police officer Tyree Burnett allegedly deleting video from Jacob Giddings' cell phone following a traffic stop. The video is from a police body cam.
While this happened in Philadelphia, this is something that happens all over the country. This exposes what's happening. It exposes a particular incident, but this is a prevalent issue.
Lennon Edwards is representing Giddings. The incident happened back in March. Edwards says Giddings was approached by the officer at a gas station and told to get out of the car. Edwards says Giddings was given no reason for why, and that is when he started recording. Giddings dropped his phone while being put into a police car, but it was still recording, and so was the body cam. The body cam shows the officer apparently going through the phone and allegedly deleting the video. Police Commissioner Daniel Outlaw addressed the issue Wednesday.
We are aware of this incident. He's actually been on restricted duty since, I believe, April. But there is an active and ongoing internal affairs investigation right now.
Giddings will seek monetary damages, but his lawyer says what he really wants is police reform.
It's not just the officer who initiated this. It's the support system that he had.
Yeah.
It's that the officers who were there said nothing, did nothing.
Howard Monroe, CBS 3.
Go ahead, Kev. Go ahead.
You know, so I got two things with this. All right, wrong. But just for being that stupid to not realize your body cameras got this, I think you deserve to lose your job just for.
Everybody.
Come on.
Panel, I really don't even know. We'll let everybody comment on this, but it's really nothing. I think it was something it was an icebreaker for me. I wanted to put this in here just to show, silly does and silly do. You know what I'm saying? Because come on, first and foremost, and then you're taking the protective screen off the phone and doing it. Maurice, give us your insight on that. Is there any legalities or from a civil or whatever? What do you think on that, bro?
He's going to be able to civilly sue him, I imagine, probably for a good amount of damages. Literally, they were just, at the top of my brain, I'm not really sure how you would go about it, but you definitely can sue him on a civil level. And if anything, just because of the incident itself and how dumb that individual was and the way he went about it, and it was such a violation of that man's rights, private rights and property, he's for sure just going to get punitive damages alone. So, like, the judge would just punish him and give him certain damages alone, just punitively. So,
Absolutely,
like, yeah, I imagine that cop's going to get, I'm sure that lawyer's excited for that case as well.
Absolutely. Chuck, I'll let you go.
There's a destruction of evidence law in Pennsylvania if he's chargeable under that.
Yeah, probably so. It is, Kev? Maybe so.
I'm asking. We're asking Maurice.
I'm not sure.
Yeah?
Yeah, maybe we'll have to look into that. Chuck, go ahead, and then I'll just read some comments, and then we'll go to the next one. Kev, when we go to the next one, see if you can find the one, and we'll get a little serious with this topic. We have an NYPD officer that was being bit, and he punches the woman in her throat. Justified, not justified. We'll talk about that. I'll let Kevin look for that one.
I'm going to need a moment. I got to put my little ones to bed. I'll be back in 30.
All right, you put them to bed. Night. Listen, everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my co-host, Chuck Richards, and my co-host, Kevin Branzetti. And we got the special guest, Maurice Johnson, in the building. How you enjoying your time with us, Maurice, man?
I'm having a blast. Glad you guys could have me. Having a good time.
Yeah, man. And thanks, Chuck, for bringing him. This is the beautiful thing, everybody. We asked any of you that want to be a part of this. Maurice, the olive branch is extended to you anytime that you want to come back in. Please reach out to Chuck. You're more than welcome to come back in and sit in on us. And the more the merrier, because the bottom line is you bring a vast array of knowledge from a young African-American, from a professional, and I applaud you. I applaud your mentors and your teachers for keeping you on the path, and you are the future, because we have to pass the baton to you to help educate and keep our youth on the path. So I salute you, young brother. Appreciate you.
Appreciate that. And again, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Everybody that's in the group, we see you. We rocking at you. What's up, Anita, and my Hunter College sister? What's going on, my Capricorn sister? Darren Joseph said, what should happen to his enablers? There were other cops on that duty watching. Now, let's talk about that real quick as Kevin looks for that other video. I'm not going to sit here and say that those other officers should be punished for him erasing that footage. Yo, that his dumb ass is done. Like, listen, what Darren? I don't think any officer should have jumped in and said, "Oh, listen, Jimmy, put that down. What's wrong with you?" No. Listen, so if somebody would have said, "Yo, dude, what are you doing?" Yeah, okay, but nobody told him to take that phone. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Chuck, Kevin, what do y'all feel about that? Go ahead, Chuck.
No, my feelings are the same. I mean, it was a conscious decision, a knowing decision on his behalf. I mean, he made it very clear that was his intentions, and he's a jerk. He's stupid. I mean, it's no other way of looking at it. I mean, just pure freaking assery. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like buffoonery at the highest level. Kevin, I want your comment on it. But Maurice, your mother said next time, no red cup. Ha ha ha. Shout out to your mother in the building. Right. How do you pronounce her first name?
Maurice.
Maurice. Hello, ma'am. How are you? Thank you for joining Real Talk Chronicles. It's all right. It's not red table, but it's real talk.
I'm throwing the flag on mom calling you out, Maurice.
I know, right?
I'm throwing it right there. That's it.
Listen, dog.
I saved this all night for the incident.
My red cup had water, so I don't know what your head is. Don't ask me about this light cup, though. Moms, thank you for enjoying the show. Please subscribe to us, and you're always welcome back. Man, maybe Maurice, maybe you and your moms need to come on the show together. Man.
Oh man, I don't know about all that.
And we'll get the real stories on Maurice.
Yeah.
No.
Oh wow, Kev, what do you think about? I don't think any of the other cops should be.
I think it's cut and dry. Yeah, I'm with you both on this.
Okay,
it's fairly simple.
Did you find the other one? We're not gonna. We got a few more minutes. Let's go to the other one.
Give me a second.
Kevin Branzetti said, "Could punching someone in the throat be considered as deadly force?" That's a good question. I want us to see the video. It's a quick video. From a martial arts standpoint, if I punch in your throat, I'm really trying to do throat damage. I'm really trying to hurt you. So a person you can damage somebody's windpipe with that. Let's go to the video real quick. Let me know when you're ready, Kev. Is this the Walmart one? Which one is it? Also, okay, the throat punching. Let's see what's going on here.
5 o'clock on July 4th. Surveillance video shows a group of people in Syracuse Walmart. DeWitt police say 5 to 6 people were fighting when 22-year-old Tajanique Bird pulled a pepper spray from her purse and sprayed multiple people, including children. Police say the video shows 26-year-old Tyriana Edmonds in the black top arguing with store employees and striking them in the face. When DeWitt police officers Rory Spain and Corey Bike arrive on the scene, a man is seen directing them to the fight. In the police body camera footage, you can see police walking through the store aisles. Officer Spain tries to handcuff Edmonds.
Back off. No. Back off.
She argues with police, but initially does not resist.
I'm gonna leave. All right. Now, my daughter is right here.
We then see Officer Bike trying to take Bird into custody. Police say she resisted, knocking his body camera off, and the video goes black.
You're gonna get on the
Walmart surveillance video shows Officer Bike and Bird struggle. She falls to the ground as he tries to handcuff her. Police say the officer placed weight on her hips and legs, not applying pressure to her back, stomach, or neck. We then see cell phone video from a bystander. In it, you see Edmonds trying to bite Officer Spain's arm. He then strikes her in the face.
All right, I'll start with you. Everybody, you saw this. Now, let's deal with the situation. She tried to bite him. Now, let's deal with the force. Was it necessary, excessive? What's your take on it? What do you think, Kev?
All right, so I think legally he's fine.
Okay.
You know, a bite to a punch, I think you're fine. Right? Is it the best move? And you know, it falls in that category of I can do it, but should I do it? We can argue that.
Okay.
But I think legally he's fine. She bit him. He used his hand, you know, and hit her.
Okay. Chuck, I'll go to you, Chuck. And then I'll go to Maurice. I'll let you go last on this one.
Like I agree with Kevin in regards to just legally. Is it something that I think that it's a legal issue? No. I mean, someone biting someone is almost like getting injected with a hypodermic needle. I don't know who and what you are. I don't know where you've been. I don't know who you hang out with. I know nothing about what's in your bloodstream, and now you're biting me. You're looking for the purpose of breaking the skin, and God only knows what that might do to me. So his reaction, fine. I mean, should he punched her? Maybe he could have used different tactics. I have to admit that when I have been bit and someone did try to bite me, and because once again, you're being in narcotics, you get those sergeants that want you to go into these drug dens. They're looking for bodies, you know what I mean? And sometimes they push the envelope and they go, well, no, we're going to go in a place that we know people are shooting up. Yeah. I'm sorry. Somebody came at me with a hypodermic needle. It was a female. I punched the shit out of her. I ain't gonna lie. As far as I'm concerned, I'm going home. You're not coming at me with a hypodermic needle. And I did. I used physical force to get her away from me because she wasn't going to stab me with the daggone thing. So when I see somebody trying to bite someone, it's equivalent to me, as far as I'm concerned, using a hypodermic needle and trying to puncture someone's flesh. And at that point, whether or not we were police officers or not, what would be your first reaction, right? As a human being, you're going to do whatever you have to do to get this person off from you from biting you. And you may smack them in the heat, you may punch them, you may do whatever, but the main thing is you don't want them breaking your skin, because I don't know where this person has been. You know what I mean? It's just as simple as that.
Right. Maurice, what's your take? Give me two things. But Maurice, give me give me 2 takes, and I say 2. It might be 2.5. You can give me the legal. You can give me if somebody tried to bite your ass. What would you do? And if you was law enforcement and somebody tried to bite your ass, what would you do? So go ahead.
Legally, I agree with Kevin. It's for equal force met with equal force, so he's fine in terms of a punch equal a bite. And I completely agree with Chuck. I mean, someone biting you, like he said, it's the equivalent of a needle. You don't know where they've been, you don't know what they have, and that's putting your risk and your whole future and your family future at extreme risk over that.
Now, if somebody tried to bite you, what would you do?
I mean, surely in the moment, obviously the punch probably isn't the best. You can go different routes, but again, I mean, your life's feeling threatened because again, that's the equivalent of a needle to me. I mean, I probably would have taken the exact same route, to be completely honest. I mean, no one's biting me or punching my skin in that type of situation. So I think the punch was completely fine, especially in the heat of the moment. I mean, you're making split-second decisions. So I think that is probably the route I probably most likely would have taken. I definitely would have protected my well-being. So whatever I need to do to make sure my skin isn't punctured and my future is not at risk. So
got you. I just want to. Colin said, did she try to bite him or did she bite him? Well,
I've been rewatching it. It looks like attempted. It doesn't look. She tried. I mean, the mouth closed, but she kept missing his arm.
Right. Well, listen.
Yeah. And he only punched her. He punched her once, got her down. He didn't then, take a head and slam a head. Like there's
no.
He gave one.
I'm not saying
and it's rare.
Excessive.
If we would have had this conversation earlier today of like punching somebody cuffed, that's a tough one for me, right? In life, right? Cuffed is over, right? There's the rule in life.
No,
this is the rare exception.
Yeah, I mean, there's exception to the rules of some. You trying to bite me? Listen, I mean, I think the three of us all here know at one point a person with a hypodermic needle or a person spitting on you,
yeah,
was a felony because we didn't know at the time when AIDS was prevalent, very high in us making arrests, that you was like, whoa, you know what I'm saying? Like that was a borderline ass whipping. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, that's just real talk. You know what I'm saying? Like you get it when you act up wherever you spat at you is where you got it. You know what I'm saying?
I will say this. Michelle asked a good question. And Chuck, how would you feel if that was your daughter? And the cop punched her.
How would I feel if that was my daughter? First and foremost, her ass shouldn't have been in there freaking fighting and acting like Shaquanda. That's the first goddamn thing. All right? Fuck that. All right? All right? Running in there. You know what I'm saying? My daughter would not be behaving and acting in that manner in a freaking in a public place. So I don't have to worry about my daughter. She wouldn't be doing something like that. Second of all, if in fact she gets arrested, the last thing she should be doing is trying to bite somebody. Why?
Yeah.
Why? You did something that obviously made it very clear you had to be arrested, or whether it be for disorderly conduct or they're just trying to get you to move out of the location. But still, my daughter wouldn't bite somebody either. But if she did and she tried to bite someone, I'm sorry. If she gets smacked in the face because the guy doesn't want to go home not knowing whatever she's carrying or she's trying to break his skin, then I'm sorry. It is what it is at that particular point. I'm not condoning the fact that it's all right to go around smacking people. But guess what? If you're acting like Shaquanda and you acting up in a store and now you starting fights and the whole 9 yards and now it's time for you to be removed for whatever the reason it is and you are compliant, you don't have to worry about biting anybody. You don't have to worry about getting into any issues. I mean, So, but like I said, my daughter, she wouldn't have been in that situation. Not my daughter.
And you know what's so funny? It's even if you're going to deal with the fact that if your daughter was, if you have the audacity, as maybe what's the word that I always say, the mitigating goal to bite somebody, then you may deserve that chop to the throat. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
come on now, Michelle, let me flip that on you, sis. If your daughter bit somebody and you got the call, you be like, yo, your daughter was out there trying to gnaw at somebody like she's some damn zombie. You know what I'm saying? What would you do? How would you feel on some shit like that? You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Dolly Santos in the building. Shout out to my man Norman said, he said, Bill, he said, was real from the one day. Love you, my brother. Thank you to all the brothers that share their knowledge. Absolutely. What's up, Cheryl in the building? Kevin Gray said the human bite can be very dangerous. Absolutely. What's up, Miss Sealy? I see you in the building. Cheryl said, I haven't seen the video that's being discussed, but if you're biting someone, I do what's necessary to get you off me. Listen, Norman said the human bite is the nastiest part of the body. You would rather have a dog bite. Yeah, exactly. You know, listen, we all know that a bite is a very dangerous thing. What is that? If a dog bites you, what do you go? You go right and get rabies shots, right? And tetanus shots and all kind of things. So listen, the damn thing, I want somebody to bite me with their saliva and not knowing with everything out. And like what the doctor said last week, with the Delta variant being worse, and you right now, you don't know what a person got. You don't know if you got the flu, AIDS, whatever. You biting this shit, gnawing at me. Stop. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna punch you in your mouth. So the moral of the story is don't you don't want to lose them, don't use them. How about that? Right, sweetie? I'm gonna give you the joints, B. Pop, pop. I'm giving you quick ones. Kevin, do we have any more videos?
I can't do any more. We have to end on this. Like this is the end tonight, though. Done.
Yo, so how about this?
We said 9 o'clock.
All right, so yeah, 9 o'clock is what it is. Oh,
we're leaving on a good note.
No. Okay, so you're right, 9 o'clock. So listen, Chuck, Maurice, first and everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. If you like what you heard, we're here Mondays and Wednesdays. The first Monday of the month, we have Assemblyman Al Taylor. The second Monday of the month, I'm proud to announce my cousin, Dr. Marilyn Corder, world-renowned doctor, will be with us every second Monday of the month to talk about the COVID, just talk about health issues. So what any questions that you have, please, the doctor will be in the house and she will give you her expertise, and maybe she'll bring her husband along, my other cousin, and we'll have two doctors and we will discuss all the health issues that there are out there in the world today. But right now, of course, the elephant in the room is COVID-19. And then now we're talking about this Delta variant, which the doctor, like Kevin said, please go back and watch that other show we did Monday. It's on YouTube. It's phenomenal, the knowledge that she broke down. Right, Chuck and Kev?
Yeah, it was incredible.
100%.
Listen, please, who am I to tell you what to do? But what she did say, if you didn't get vaccinated, wear your mask. And even for those who have been vaccinated, we're still wearing your mask, because she said that that Delta is 70% worse than that COVID-19. So with that being said, we also, the third Monday of every month, we have Allison Williams. She is performing this weekend. She's performing tomorrow at the Sugar Bar if you're in New York City, and then Saturday she's performing out in Queens. The fourth Monday of every month, we have Pastor Kevin Graves. We have our spiritual talk with Pastor Kevin Graves. It's a beautiful show. He breaks it down from the mentality of people of today, from a biblical aspect, and he's not just talking Bible. He's giving you Bible-less, conversation, but he's giving you thought provocative stuff. And every Wednesday of the month, I have Kevin Branzetti, and I have Chuck Richards, and we give you this. And which
I'm sorry, Chuck. What did you call her again?
Wanda.
Oh yeah. He took it to the hood.
I had to walk away.
He took it to the hood. He gave her three syllables. Exactly. So anyway, with that being said, and all that being said, we had a wonderful guest tonight. Everybody, we asked you out there if you want to be a part of any dais that we have, especially this one. Just ask. Just ask. But if you come on here, please know your stats. You see Maurice went right to the computer when him and Kev got into I encourage stat challenges. You know what I'm saying? Like all for the stat battles. You know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, Maurice, thank you. You're always welcome to come back. I hope to catch up with you and Chuck at the local pub soon. Whatever y'all guys are drinking, y'all ain't invite me, but it's all right, y'all. Maurice, give us your insight on the show and how you felt. Did you enjoy yourself, brother? Please give us.
I had a blast. Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. The topics were great. The conversations were great. The debate was awesome. Appreciate the insight from the OGs. So it's always good time. Definitely always can learn something. So great time and appreciate it a lot.
Thank you. Listen, shout out to your mother. You did an excellent job.
Yeah. To mama.
Yeah. Shout out. We all support the mamas in the building. Maurice, before you go, give the audience or just anybody some positive affirmation. We always leave with positive affirmation. If Pastor Kevin Graves is on the show, he would say a prayer, but right now we go out with positive affirmation. Give us some positive affirmation, and then I'll go to Chuck and Kevin. I'll go to Kevin, and then I'll go to Chuck, and then I'll finish out, unless my lovely wife wants something to say. But go ahead.
For all the young guys out there, just find your passion. Find what you really love to do. Stick with it, and just follow that to the end of the road. You can really find out what you really love to do. You're really passionate. You can find that at an early age. The sooner, the better. And I promise you, if you follow that and stay truly true to that, and don't cheat that, you can cheat on tests. You can cheat on other things. I don't care, but just don't cheat the passion. So find that and stick with it and follow it to the end of the road. Everything else will fall into place.
Awesome. Before I go to Kevin, I'll let Chuck finish out tonight. Before I go to Kevin, Maurice, who you got in the finals?
Man, I got Phoenix in 6.
Ooh, all right. Damn, that means I ain't gonna get a beer soon. So, but then all right, yeah, I got Phoenix too. So go ahead, Kev.
Hey, good evening. First, thank everybody for showing, for being here, supporting us, having some laughs with us tonight. Yeah. We've been able to take some serious conversations and turn them into some good times, which is nice to see. And I took a couple of punches, but that's part of the game.
But you was throwing too. But
I gotta go down without swinging. I say this almost every week. Take a break. Pick one day a week. Make it your break from social media, from news, from just the onslaught of information. It is imperative to your brain, to your psyche, to your family. Take a break, spend some time with them. Last and not least, be part of the solution, whether it's do something big or do something little. Talk to your little neighbor next door and give them a little bit of, pep talk in this world, or try doing something bigger. Talk to your legislators to change things for a positive. But, doesn't take, you don't have to change the world. You might not just change one person. And if we each did that, think about where we'd be. Have a good night. Thank you all.
Thanks. Chuck.
Brother, all I have to say is as things get progressively back to normal, and I don't think we're going to have what's called a normal, since we have COVID, we have Delta, we have all these variants. All I can say is that, please, man, everybody, take care of yourselves. Do what you think is necessary that's going to be in the best interest of your well-being, the best well-being for your family and for those that you love. Take some time out for yourself, appreciate yourself, love yourself, but more importantly, think about those that you love. And if there's anything you can do to contribute in their lives, to make their lives better, do so. But be healthy, be wise and be healthy.
Absolutely. I'll just close and say I concur with what all three of these gentlemen said. Maurice, like I said, you're always welcome to come back whenever you want to. Just let Chuck know, you want to pop in once a month, or we ain't gonna let you pop in every 4 days. We ain't gonna let you do that. No, yo, brother, it was really an honor and it's a pleasure. I mean, the one thing for anybody out there that knows, I encourage my hosts, all my hosts, to bring and add to this besides what their vast knowledge is. Kev has brought people that have been abducted before. Chuck brought you, Maurice. You know what I'm saying? It's an honor. It's a pleasure to meet you. Cardia Swift said, hello, Maurice, on YouTube. Thank you. The big YouTube showing. Shout out to all the people in YouTube. Yo, listen, if y'all listening to Maurice, subscribe and share. Don't be playing your word up. Let me say. I gotta keep it Harlem. You know a Harlem cat when he hits you with the word up after. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right, exactly. That's all Harlem right there. Yeah. But I do tell you, please, as the city's opening up, be careful. Listen, the one thing, if you weren't hygienic, now due to these COVID, these diseases, you became more sanitized. You know what I'm saying? Still practice that. If you know you got juicy lips, put a mask on, because some people like to talk and spit. Guys don't know how to control your mouth and spit. You know what I'm saying? I may punch you in your throat if you spit on me. Because right now I can't listen. I can't bring shit home to Malika, and I can't explain growing out my eye. Right now, my eye, I've been scratching my eye all week. You know what I'm saying? I've been around people on the weekend, so listen. To avoid me punching in your mouth, you got to throw some humor in this, everybody. I'm just totally joking. I'm throwing some humor in this. But seriously, cover up. If you didn't get vaccinated, whatever your beliefs are, you didn't get vaccinated, cool. Mask up. Even if you got vaccinated, still practice that social distancing. The doctor said you got to be very careful. Keep it positive. Listen, life is too short to carry all that stress on your shoulders. Listen, you got bills, you got problems. They'll be there tomorrow. And if you, God forbid, if you die, he's still going to be there. So don't let them stress you. Don't let life stress you out. We try to be bearers of information. We try to give you the best that we can. I appreciate you all for supporting us. And, with that being said, just, I don't know, whatever you do in your life, but just keep it real and have real talk. Everybody have a good night. We out of here. See you later, everybody. And close your mouth.